Everybody, let's have a big round of applause for this event of Maharashtra TPO Association.
We are delighted to have Mr. Deepak Pai, Managing Director of ISHRAE Market Unit Lead, Accenture Technology. Welcome, sir, for this today's event. I would like to just introduce Deepak, sir. He is graduated from one of the prestigious college, Wagh College of Engineering, Sangli, and he's having more than 25 years of experience involved working with the life sciences companies, developing a deeper understanding of domain and working across all R&D, commercial, finance, manufacturing, supply chain, and enabling functions. He is also managing the technology work delivered from India to Austria, Switzerland, Germany, and Russia clients. And he is one of the person who is making impact for the digital transformation and innovation to the clients and giving them an agile and futuristic applications. So he's also well versed with the different technologies like AI, ML, AR, VR, IoT, RPA, blockchain, which are being implemented for the various projects across the different countries. So we are delighted to have Mr. Deepak Pai, sir. Welcome, sir.
One of our favorite recruiters, Mr. Deepak Pai sir from Accenture, to share with us what are the industry expectations and the current trends for which we can work upon. Thank you.
Good morning to all of you. Good morning. My name is Deepak Pai. I am a managing director with Accenture. I manage one of the geographies, which is Austria, Switzerland, and Germany. That's roughly a group of about 15,000 people that work in my portfolio. Servicing almost 100 plus clients in this geography. Before I start, I'd want to thank everybody on the dais, our dignitaries on the dais, Dr. Wagh sir, Dr. Kale sir, Dr. Virendra sir, Mr. Wadode, from my college. I'm a 1995 pass out from Wagh College. It's a pleasure to be here, and distinguished members of the audience. So thank you so much for having me. I will distribute my the 5 or 10 minutes that I have into a few parts. Okay, the first is, what problem is the industry facing today, right? Right now, at least if I talk about, information technology in general, and I represent, all of the, IT companies that are probably there in India. The biggest problem that we are facing right now is an increase in labor cost, okay? Our labor costs have been going up significantly year on year. Okay, and it's a result of inflation. It's also a result of the supply-demand challenge that we have in the system at this point in time. One of the biggest costs that we undertake from an industry perspective is we recruit a lot of engineers. Okay, Accenture last year we recruited almost 30,000 engineers across India. But when we get these engineers, they are not ready to be deployed yet, onto client programs. Okay, it takes us almost 6 months to get them ready to be deployed onto chargeable roles on client accounts. Okay, and why does it take us 6 months? Two or three reasons, right? The first reason that we see is right now we are working on various different, let's say platforms: SAP, Oracle, Salesforce, Workday, Pega, etc. Right? You look at the curriculum that is being taught in the colleges, okay, the curriculum and what we are doing in the industry, at least from a software perspective, there is a huge gap. There's a huge gap in terms of what is being taught today. What is being taught today is still, core programming, right? We still taught core programming, data structures, algorithms, all of that is still very, very useful. But we have moved on, the world has moved on to various different other platforms, right? So I need an engineer who's ready to work on an SAP deployment, okay? Who's ready to work on S4HANA, who's ready to do a migration to the cloud, okay? Who's ready to work on Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, etc. Right? I do not get that sort of talent from colleges at this point in time. So we've got to think about that gap that exists today, right? The second gap that exists is in terms of the domain that we have. Okay, now we take these engineers that come from colleges and we deploy them onto various different industries. Okay, I come from, let's say, life sciences. Last 16 years I've been working on life sciences clients, Pfizer, Merck, Roche, Boston Scientific. I've worked on many clients, right? And when you work on these kind of computer systems for these clients, there is a completely different expectation. You are expected to know the domain. You have to know the R&D cycle for drug development and for biologics development, for generics. You have to know what FDA does, what MHRA does, and so on and so forth. An engineer that comes out of college, very little information about core domains: retail, consumer goods, automotive. Even an automotive engineer will probably not be aware of the latest and greatest industry trends in that particular industry. So domain is the second thing that I would say from a gap perspective. The third gap is in terms of expectation, right? Most people come out thinking that they are going to develop code from scratch. Okay, that doesn't happen in the industry. Almost 70% of what we do in the industry is really, making sure that businesses are running their softwares in a way that make them high-performing businesses. And that doesn't mean that on a daily basis you are going to write new code. So the skills that you need are very different. The skills that you need are, how can you increase the performance of an existing system? How can you make it more performant? How can you make it more scalable? How can you really improve on the architecture of those systems? How can you make it more secure, right? And then how can you troubleshoot if there is a problem? How can you troubleshoot? Now again, unfortunately, these are not skills that we are teaching, from a industry perspective. Of course, we are teaching them, structured, programming, or maybe even 4GL and 5GL and so on and so forth. But what we need is a lot of engineers with these kind of backgrounds that can really help scale clients' businesses and make them high-performing businesses. And the fourth thing that I would say is in terms of soft skills. Okay, if I leave the metros alone, the engineers that I get from non-metro cities, great talent, but their English is not as great. Okay. And so therefore, once they join companies like us, where you are forced to speak in English and you have so many meetings where you have to stand up and you have to talk, okay, and you have to challenge clients, language is a real leverage that you should have. Okay, so therefore, that soft skill aspect of language is going to be very important. Apart from that, we need other soft skills as well, right? We need people who are not afraid of asking questions. We need people who are confident. We need people who can collaborate, who can co-create, who can work as a team. Again, these are not skills that come naturally, right? Which is why the industry takes 5 to 6 months to get somebody ready and then deploy them. So it's a cost that the industry is taking today. And how can we really bridge this gap? Of course, all of you guys, this is input to all of you guys. You can go back to your respective institutes and see how to really bridge that gap, because if we have a person who's really ready to take on and we just need to do 1 week of onboarding and get them onto real billable projects, that is what the industry is going to be most thankful about. Again, thanks for having me here. I'm going to stick around, so if any of you have any questions, then I'd be happy to take it on later. Thank you so much for having me.